day it is. Are you in that situation? Like lockdown, just don't know what day it is. Although my son is at school, so you think I'd be in a bit more of a routine than I am, but clearly not. Yeah, I'm a few minutes late. I'm sorry about that. I have had some really interesting questions come through. So thank you to those of you who have emailed me and sent questions in, and thanks for that, because I will crack through with them. But if any of you guys have questions, then please drop them down so I can. Someone is laughing. Good. Well, I'm glad you're happy. You might be laughing at me, but hey ho. So yeah. So if you've got questions, just pop them down, and I will answer them for you. So I think we might be laughing at my not knowing even what day it is. It's all a bit crazy. But yeah, interesting times. I mean, I've been listening to the news, and the fact that, I mean, all my clients that are dating right now, I am sorry to hear the news that Boris is passing this law that you can't go to somebody else's house and have sex with them if you don't live together. So if you can't have sex with anyone you don't live with, which if you're single and dating is obviously quite difficult. And there's all these things coming out at the moment, which are, I don't know why. I mean, suddenly restrictions on airports. Why now? It's just all a bit crazy. But that is the world we live in. And I think if you're going through a breakup or a divorce, the world often seems a little bit crazy. So one of my emails is from somebody who said she's just in a mad world, not only with COVID, but also she's dealing with family lawyers. Anyone else dealing with family lawyers or has dealt with family lawyers? Drop it in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or join me on IG. Because family lawyers, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think? Have we got any family lawyers who are tuning in? Brave people. There are some amazing family lawyers, and I work with some absolutely amazing, pioneering, highly empathetic, fingers on the pulse family lawyers. There are also some despicable family lawyers. So, again, picking the lawyer you're going to work with is really important, and not a decision just to sort of rush in. Oh, good, I've got a lawyer now. Really selective on your lawyers, as we talked about yesterday briefly. So, yeah, I mean, it is interesting. This lady saying that she thinks she's in a mad world because she doesn't understand any of the language. And she sent me some of the FDR, Form E, arbitration, mediation. Yeah, I mean, they're all very confusing terms for people like you and me who aren't lawyers and not legally trained, and I think sometimes because lawyers have to work so hard to get their law degrees and their qualifications, I think they forget that actually most people, these are just completely different words. I mean, they have actually different words that they use that I've never even heard of. And I'm relatively intelligent, so I would like to think that I thought I knew most words, but I mean, honestly, it is like a different word and a different world. And also some of the words mean different things. So it might mean something to you, but actually in a legal document or a legal letter from a lawyer, they go, oh no, it doesn't mean that, it means this. And they see things in letters that I don't. Like, you get, and I see these with clients day in, day out, you get letters from people saying that, that they're the other side of sent, which would be, which when you and I would read it, which, well, maybe me not now, because I've done a lot of this over the last 10 years, but you kind of think, oh my gosh, this is awful, this is scary, I'm in trouble, I better do what they say because it's just intimidating, and I'm going to lose my house, lose my child, have no money left, I'm going to be left on my own. And then that compounded with all your other fears about breakups and being single again and all the heartache and betrayal and all the other issues that you go through is so overwhelming, but then your lawyers will read it and go, oh no, well, what they're saying is actually this. So you take out all the, and some of them are extremely aggressive. I mean, they have tactics, don't they, that are designed, and templates that are designed to send it out at 5:30 on a Friday just to destroy your weekend when you can't get hold of your lawyer or a normal therapist. You can get hold of me, but you can't get hold of a normal therapist. Well, not all of them, I'm sure, but most of them. So let's see, Michelle said, I'm not very happy with my lawyer. Oh, just dragging it out, and I'm desperate to get things finalised. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is the challenge, isn't it? If you've got, I mean, at the moment, lawyers can be quite inundated because obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of pressure on relationships, and divorce inquiries have spiked, which is why it's a great time to train as a breakup and divorce. So yeah, I mean, I would be really upfront and honest with them and say, I'm not happy with this. Can you, explain to me why there's a delay? Because sometimes we don't know why there's delays, and there may be a legitimate reason. I mean, maybe you've had that conversation, Michelle, let me know. Dragging it out and trying to get as much fees out of you as possible is also, when times are tough. They are a sales organization, and some of them are run like that, and some of them aren't. Some of them are very cost aware, and they all do their best to minimize, and they're great people to work with. But when you get to firms where they are driven by targets, which basically means they have to get a certain amount of money out of each client, and then if there's a client with a propensity to potentially pay more, that could be leveraged. Those sort of things. It is a sales organization. It's a business at the end of the day. They offer a service, but they want to make as much money as they can, which obviously is fair enough as a business. But there's a fine line with this kind of thing because it's so emotive, and you can be manipulated to spend money where you don't need to, out of fear and panic, and that's the challenge. It works the other way. If there aren't so many clients at the moment because of COVID, then they may still have those targets. And so that might be why it's getting dragged out. I don't know, because I don't know your case, Michelle, but, I think having a conversation, picking up the phone and saying, this is not, I'm not happy. Can you tell me why? In a friendly way, say, look, I just really want to get this done. Is there a reason why it's taking so long? And then try and get her to commit to a deadline if there isn't a really good reason for it. Okay, so let's see what some of these here. Thought Health says, I've been following Rachel Watson. I love her. And her insight into the family law and divorcing a narcissist is invaluable. So Rachel Watson, by the way, is, I kind of like to call her a friend of mine. We speak, and I think she's amazing. She has a book. Do you want to see it? Let me grab it. She's got a great book. That's my book, not her book. Where it is, I will find it if I can for next session. It's called How to Annihilate a Narcissist in the Family Courts. What a great title, How to Annihilate a Narcissist in the Family Courts. And it's written from her experience, and a lot of the things that you go through, the difficult personality, if you call them that, is counterintuitive. So you will want to say to the judge, this is abuse, this is unreal, this is what they're doing, this is what they did in the past. But unfortunately, family courts don't work that way because they don't recognize abuse. Unless you've got a bruise or a broken arm or something, forget it, unfortunately. And I have been probably disgusted is the word for many years on this point, and that's why I'm a patron of a domestic abuse charity, and I campaign behind the scenes with the Ministry of Justice, even just to get things changed and to get things moving, because it's not right how it works. So her book, so it's Rachel Watson, is it _insights Thought Health? I think that's her Twitter handle, if you want to follow her. But every weekend she sends out a blog. She talks about things like parental alienation and divorcing a narcissist. She's amazing, and I love the way she writes. It's very reassuring as well. She's a really lovely lady. Thank you so much for recommending her during one of your lives. Oh yeah, I recommend it all the time. She's awesome. Eve says, hi Eve, one of my coaches. Claire says, are there divorce lawyers that can give you initial free advice? It's for a friend of mine who is struggling with not knowing what her rights are. Yes, not many. And some of them will give you a discount or half an hour free, and then the rest you pay for. But the thing is, obviously, everyone's different. There are some people that will, but it's very difficult because in order to understand your case, they obviously, and to give you the best advice, like with me, if this is great having these chats, but I can't give you the best advice if I don't know all the details. So, emails and things are great, but I would need a session with you to really dig and pull apart to give you the most effective advice for your particular situation. So lawyers are exactly the same. They need to really understand your situation. So say, in a half an hour conversation, they could give you a steer on the general things, but they couldn't say, well, we think you get X amount of money or anything like that. But just knowing your basic rights, I'm sure that there's lawyers out there that will do that. Well, I know there are. So Claire, if you want to get her to email me, sarah@sarahdavidson.com, then I will hook her up with somebody. But again, doing that, it might, if you do go through with the divorce, I guess they would then hope that you would go back to them. So in some ways it works for them, if they can build that rapport. And also you've got to make sure that you don't feel obligated to them, because if they're not the right kind of lawyer for you, or you don't gel with them, you've got to share lots of personal information with these people. So you've got to be careful that you get into your divorce with the right person. like you wish you probably married somebody else at some point during the divorce process. Got my divorce almost 2 years. My ex still with me in the same house. Oh gosh, that is really stressful for me. Your advice, please. Move out. Try and find a way to get out. What's the situation? Why are you still in there? I know maybe it's financial reasons or maybe it's lockdown reasons, I don't know, but please know that there are so many people going through what you're going through, and sometimes, you know, sell a house to be able to do that, then it can take time. I guess that maybe is why you're still in the same house. I mean, if you have to stay in the same house, what I would recommend is that you sort of separate as much space as you can. So you've got a safe space for you and then like a little sanctuary, and that he's got or she's got her own space too. So you've got to make sure that you know, you get your own space. If you can kind of figure out a routine, so they use the kitchen at a certain time, you use it at another time, those sort of things, if you can. I mean, are you amicable? Because I'm hoping you're relatively amicable, because otherwise it's so painful. But I would definitely be spending your time focusing on a way out, if that's what I'm sure you are doing that. But and stress is very difficult, you know, and I think if you can find, especially during lockdown, I mean, I can't imagine anything, it's challenging, you know, it is challenging. So I think sort of thinking about, use this time to plan how you're going to get out. Make sure you do have your own sort of sanctuary in the home where you can go to, shut a door and have private conversations and things. And as much as possible, get out the house, regulations permitting, and go and get out and have a different routine, because, you know, try and make sure that you allocate times, or even have a rota or something like that for using the kitchen. Thought Health says, if finances were coming depleted due to revenue raising tactics by your firm, how would you recommend approaching another firm to act pro bono? I mean, that's if you've got money, and I mean, you know, you might have all your money tied up in your house, but you've got a house. Pro bono is just so hard. I don't know how to do that. Oh my gosh, it'd be great if lawyers did that. Some do, some are doing it during lockdown to help, but it's really for sort of people that would be getting legal aid and those kind of people, not for people that have any sort of asset. They just wouldn't do it. What I would say is I would speak to your law firm that you're with and have a conversation with them and say, I can't, these costs are not possible. What can we do? You might be able to go direct access to a barrister and cut the lawyer out. Direct access to a barrister is when, at the moment, in order to go to a barrister, well, previously, you had to go through, you have to have a solicitor and pay the solicitor to instruct a barrister. So they're out of reach. It's almost like, holy grail. You can't get to them unless you go through a solicitor. Solicitors are allowed to talk to them, but paying clients, no, can't speak to them directly. Can't. So basically, they don't have a support system. They don't have people doing their admin and all that kind of stuff. They will be part of a chambers, it's called, where they have it's like an office where all the barristers work from. So they have their meetings there, and they will have clerks there. Clerks are like PAs, basically, or they'll probably kill me for saying that, because some of them get paid a huge amount of money and they're juggling some really important cases and they're doing a lot of legwork, but they are the equivalent of a solicitor's PA or junior assistant or whatever. So it's the barrister has a clerk and you go through the clerk, but the clerk will only go through a solicitor. There are now, because barristers' work was struggling, some barristers set up as direct access. Not all of them are, though. Some of them still you have to go through your lawyer. So a way of reducing costs if you are going to court is to go direct to a barrister who will do all the paperwork and the legal stuff for you, but you can go direct to them, so you're cutting out the solicitor. So that is another way. But speak to them and see, and just say, I'm struggling with this, tell them what your budget is. Say, can you do it for this? And if not, then I'm going to have to go somewhere else. If you change lawyers, the new lawyers have to read in, remember. So they have to read into your case. They will charge you for reading in. So, it makes it more expensive unless you've significantly got a reduction, or unless the lawyer, which they may be at the moment, are desperate for the work, although there are a lot of divorce inquiries around. But it might be that they will do a lot of that just to get your account. So, swings and roundabouts. Carly Loves Green has joined. Hello, selected by Goble. Oh, financial situation, right? So living in the same house because of the financial situation. Well, are you planning on selling the house or anything like that? And if you are, I guess again at this moment it's really tricky, isn't it, to sell houses? So yeah, it is tough, guys, out there at the moment, and it is causing a lot of problems. But please know you're not alone. My recommendation would be just to be able to figure out how you reduce your stress. identify what the trigger points are for stress and what makes you really stressed. You know, if it is spending, if we're in the kitchen together, or if it's just hearing noises, or if it's, you know, what is it specifically that you find the most stressful? There's going to be lots of things, but the most stressful. And then if you can identify what that is, then try and put in something to sort of be the antidote, antidote, that's what I say, antidote. Is that right? Yeah, anyway, you know what I mean? Like the medicine to cure it is what you want. You want to figure out, so for example, if it's that you're in the house at the same time, then maybe we need to look at your routine. And if it's, you know, the cooking at the same time, or him expecting you to cook, if you can sort of identify specifically what it is, then you can come up with a solution that makes you, but definitely take your control back over this. Lottie, are you on here? Because I know you emailed me in a question. I don't think I've seen you on here, but I'm going to do it because it's recording on, and it will be available on YouTube Live. All my videos are. So Lottie says, hi, my husband wants a separation and has moved out. He's going to rent a property. We've had problems for a long time. This has really broken me. We have 2 young children, and this isn't what I want, but he's refusing to move back in and wants a 6-month separation. How do I recover from this? How do I accept I will have to share my children and feel so vulnerable financially? I've been suffering from depression and anxiety for the last couple of years, which has contributed to some of the arguments. I can't even function at the moment, and he's being really cold about it all. And he wants the children 50-50, and this breaks my heart. Sorry, just not sure where to start. So, oh, Lottie, I mean, this is so tough for you, I know. And I know that lots of people are in this boat too. You know, just being left when you know, struggling emotionally to cope, especially with everything that's going on at the moment, and you've got 2 young kids, and he doesn't seem to be very empathetic or caring about it. It is absolutely heartbroken. So, you know, I'm sorry you're in this situation, and my advice when you're going through this initial stage is just to get as much information as possible about what you're going through. Because when you go through a breakup, there is that loss cycle that you go through, which is the same as if you're sort of getting over the death of a loved one. It's the same loss cycle you go through. So that starts with the first stage of denial, when you kind of stick your head in the sand and you don't want to even admit it's going on. You know, I had a client who had an Anne Summers receipt. She found in her husband's jacket, and she didn't tell him about it, and she didn't confront him about it, which a lot of people think, gosh, that's mad. Why didn't you just storm in and say, what's this? But the truth was, she had suspicions, and that, so bringing it out and speaking about it would have made it more real for her, and she didn't want to make it more real. She just was scared of it. So she tried to deny it and think maybe it was for her, and well, she was more of an M&S kind of girl, you know what I mean, not an Anne Summers girl. So the whole thing was a bit, you know, she just shut it all down. And then her birthday came and went, and Christmas came and went, and obviously he was having an affair, and that wasn't for her, and she found that really hard. But your body has a way of holding things in. And that's why the denial process is there until you're ready and strong enough to cope with it. So that's the first stage. Then it's anger. You go to the second stage, which is anger, where you're sort of venting and you're fuming and you're like, why are you doing this? And then we go down to bargaining. Bargaining is where sort of you get sort of your mood drops a little bit and you're kind of just thinking, right, I don't want to break up. So what can I do to change where I'm at? What can I do? I'll do anything. What can I do so that he or she doesn't leave me? So it might be that you start cooking dinner, or you start making more of an effort with how you look, or it might be that you're sort of trying to please them all the time, and just be the perfect partner. And you know, if any of you read my book on coupling, you'll remember the stories and the things that I did in that phase. But it's interesting because you can do that for a certain amount of time. And if you haven't broken up yet and you're still in a relationship, I would definitely suggest that both of you have a conversation about, you know, things you could do to try and save the relationship, and try it for a period of time, like 12 weeks. And what happens by the end of that, you can go into it and do your best. And even if it's just one of you doing your best, that's, you know, you can save a relationship like that. But it'll get to a point where you're like, this isn't sustainable. Like, I can't be constantly doing this. It isn't me. Like, you can compromise, but when those compromises become sacrifices, that's when it's really difficult to manage. So I would suggest that bargaining is an interesting stage, and you can kind of, it helps, or you get more clarity that this isn't going to work. And then the next stage is depression. Now, depression is a finite part of this loss curve. You know, it doesn't last forever, but it is a natural part of the grieving process. You have to go through it. if you stuff it down, it will follow you around and something else will happen. I had a client the other day who'd gone through a breakup with his girlfriend, and he was very upset about it, but he'd only been dating for 6 months. He didn't really love her. He didn't really love her or anything. But it's the fact that before that, that significant relationship had broken his heart and he jumped straight into something else. And he hadn't dealt with that. So actually the breakup pain he was feeling was actually from the previous relationship. He just suppressed it. So what I'm saying is the depression part, you have to kind of go through it. So it's healthy to cry, it's healthy to let it out. And you've got to understand that at that point you have very low energy. You maybe all cried out, but you're just going to be miserable. But that's part of letting it out, letting it go, so that you can move back up the curve, having more energy, a better mood, to acceptance, which is the fifth and final point of the loss curve, which is when you've accepted that it's happening and that you have taken off the rose tinted glasses and you're kind of like, you know, it's not going to change, so I've got to get on with it. And that's a point where your whole life is in front of you, and you know, creating a compelling future, so you're excited about what's next. And if it's a blank canvas or a black hole, you just put a lot of color and light into it and throw ideas, and like that's where writing your breakup bucket list of all the things you can do now that you could never have done before during your relationship, to get you excited again about life, and spending some time healing and looking after you. And if meditating is your thing or going for a run is your thing, you know, spending a bit more time helping yourself get back to the real you, and also rediscovering the real you, because you'll have lost track of that along the way, and that's just normal in a relationship. So getting back to who you are and working out what you want. The divorce financial, shorten and narrow that curve. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that the loss cycle curve, you don't go denial, then anger, then bargaining, depression, acceptance, and I'm out. Doesn't work like that, unfortunately. You can kind of get stuck in one place. You can go through it and slide back again. You can oscillate between two. You can get to the end and jump back to the beginning. There's no set way of going about it. But that's why I brought it up for Lottie, because just having clarity about the process, and that it's okay to feel as you're feeling, because that is part of recovery. Unfortunately, you have to go through that pain and address it. And please, you know, read my books and join in with these and ask me questions, because there's so much that you can do to start to feel better. But just giving yourself a break and knowing that it will get better. It definitely will get better. You'll manage the situation and you'll come out and be even happier. And it sounds like you've been anxious and depressed for a long time. So I think, you know, now is the time to say, right, this is a bit of a life detox. You know, he's gone, it hurts, I'm going to get through that. And then I'm going to start thinking about how life can be better, and shifting your focus from what's going on. When it's just happened, shifting your focus is super hard, and you need to sort of deal with that. And when you're ready, then start to think about shifting your focus to what life can have now and what life could be like, and getting excited about that. It's important. So yeah, so does anyone else have any questions for me while I'm on? Because what's in here? I just wanted to make sure that I get through them all. I think I've answered all of the ones that we've got. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, right now is a tough time for everybody. There are so many people struggling with relationships, with legal cases, with heartbreak. I mean, lots of people have had partners walk out during lockdown, like Lottie, I think. So, you know, that is really shocking, because not only are you dealing with being on your own, you're also dealing with the virus and the new normal, and you know, how is life going to be in the future is uncertain. But actually, it's the same life skills coping with lockdown, very similar as it is to dealing with a breakup, because you're learning to be self-reliant again, you're learning to think for yourself, you're learning to, you know, be single, and you're getting back in touch with you again. Whether you like it or not, you're going to have to do that, and that's fun. And that is fun, you know, actually going, wow, instead of spending all my time focusing on other people, it might feel selfish and uncomfortable to start with, because it does for a lot of people. Right, what do I want to do in my day, and what do I want to watch on TV? You know, one of the highlights is not having to share the remote control anymore. So those sort of things, you've got to try and focus on the things that you are learning from it, so you can move forward, but also, you know, being kind and nurturing yourself, taking some baths and having a nice glass of wine, or doing the little things that make you feel a little bit more loved, and learning to love yourself is important. It's not always easy, but you can do it. I have total faith in you. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for your questions, and do join me tomorrow. I look forward to speaking to you then. Have a lovely day, guys. Mwah. Lots of love. Bye. Bye. Thanks for joining.